Hey everybody, it exactly, well, it depends on where we all are logging on. I think we have people from all over North America here joining us and maybe even beyond. So it's 1 p.m. my time, 10 p.m. in the West Coast. So to everyone that's joined, and I'm sure many people will begin clicking in for their lunch break now. Welcome to the CareSmartz360 webinar today. And welcome to you, Welton.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
I'm really excited about today's topic. In reviewing and preparing for this time with you, I just got to thinking about how there's probably a lot of folks in the industry who want to do right by their agency, but they might feel that it's all too complex. How do I get those clicks? How do I get that engagement? And on the other end, there might be people that are floating at a level where they think that it's so simple and there isn't kind of a multi-layer. So, what I was impressed by just reviewing the slides that you shared with us is that it really visualizes as well that it really is a building upon. So, my hope today, I know it helped me even before being able to chat with you for this hour, wrap my head around all of the different layers of being successful and really getting your phone to not ring, but ring, ring. So I'm so excited to introduce you, Welton. Would you mind starting, Welton, by letting us know what ring ring marketing is and who you
Sure.
are, and then we can get started with our topic.
Awesome. Yep. My name is Welton Hong with so we're with Senior Care Marketing Max, which is a division of Ring Ring Marketing. So I started Ring Ring Marketing back in 2010, and Ring Ring Marketing mainly focus on working with funeral homes and cemeteries. So that's a pretty large niche for us. And then, as we all know, funeral homes, they do network pretty heavily with hospices. So we started working with more hospices, and then now we're working with the whole continuum of care. Thus, we had to split out a separate brand name to be called Senior Care Marketing Max, so that way people are not confused, which they're
Of
still a little
course.
confused. So that way, messaging wise, right, it will be a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even just that distinction just really plays in well with kind of your presentation and some of the points you make today. Different part of the continuum,
Right.
absolutely. Okay. We are very much here and we are very much looking for care.
hmm
So, before we get started, I just want to say to our guests who have joined, and again, there's going to be more people joining. This is being recorded on Zoom and on LinkedIn. So anybody that might catch us late, no worries. You'll be able to enjoy this later when you have time. So everyone gets to benefit from this. In preparing for this to our guests, Welton really wanted to let you know that we are open to questions during the presentation. It is more important to Welton that this means something to you as our guest than getting through the slides. So, my favorite type of meeting, well, we care about the slides, but we get to throw those out in more of a prioritization of what this is going to mean for those of us who kindly join us today. The value needs to be there for you. So please don't hesitate to click. My job will be, well, Walter will be doing all the hard work. My job will be here to encourage him and also to keep an eye on those questions. So without further ado, I will allow you to share your screen, Welton, and share your
Cool.
presentation today.
Perfect. Thank you, Carolina.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably the best timing here as most of us business owners, we're starting to plan for the next year. And hopefully the outcome out of today is you have a little bit more clear game plan as to, hey, which of these digital marketing strategies might help me grow our billable hours for 2026, which of these weapons might be great for branding or for caregivers. So before I really get into the whole ecosystem, first of all is I always bring in a couple slides no matter what type of presentation I do. These days, you might be hearing people call this omni-channel or simply just overall multi-channel marketing. These days, there's not one channel that can cover it all. These days, you got to be doing both online and offline. And well, no, in this industry, this profession, offline is probably the main bread and butter. I always kind of equate this to be 80-20 rule. Whether you're year one or you're very established, doing 500, 1,000 billable hours, if you look at, doesn't matter which size you are, predominantly 80% will still be referral based.
Hmm.
The online is the other 20% that could really help you a lot with the other, right, imminent need. They already mom fell, they went on Google, for example, right? Those are a little bit less referral based. But I'll kind of go over a little bit more how online play into this. But overall, thing here is eventually everyone goes online. Even the referral sources, right? They go online. They Google you, they go on your website, they check out your reviews. If you kind of fell short in that last mile, even if it came strongly referred by, let's say, a discharge planner, unfortunately, they will not use you. Okay. So the big thing I want to come in first of all is offline is still king. I don't want you to think that digital marketing is a holy grail. It's definitely not. It's there to supplement what you're already working on. And the biggest thing here is there's a lot of confusion these days because you got online, you got offline, and there's always new things that come out, right? You might hear OTT, geofencing, should you be on TikTok? There's like so many strategies. Should you be boosting? So my job today is to help you avoid shiny object syndrome. And quickly, I want to go over two framework with you guys. And this will allow you to really figure out what strategies make sense, high level. So let me go over two journeys with you. The first journey is what I simply just call these. They are the problem aware families. The problem families typically they're the mindful, mindful, for example. So this is what I meant by problem aware. But Carolina, just for fun, let's play a quick game.
Yeah, I love that.
So you're very young, but let's say this is your leaky roof. And back in the 90s, how do people find roofing companies back in the 90s? I know you're very young, but
Oh,
back in
well,
the 90s.
I didn't know that I was going to get a compliment today, and I love it already. This is my favorite webinar I've ever attended, first of all. I'm going to actually say it's probably going to be the yellow pages.
Right? Most likely, most of us ask our neighbors or back in the 90s, problem aware, we all straight go to the yellow pages,
Hmm.
right? If we need roofing, we need plumbing, we go straight to the yellow pages. And most of us don't flip through the yellow pages for fun. Again, your problem where yellow pages. And even within the yellow pages, all of your competitors are on there. How do you stand out? Right? That's going to be very, very tricky thing. Even within the yellow pages, there's ways to optimize so that way you stand out. For example, one trick is to rename your business to be one roofing company so you show up right at the top, right? That's what
I
people
never
used
even
to,
thought of that, Welton, but that's so obvious why there's so
right?
many A everything.
Exactly, right? Doesn't make sense, but everyone eventually changed their business name or DBA did. Or some will use copywriting skill set to make their ad stand out, right? You might get a larger ad or a right smaller ad, but it's really the copy that entices them to call you. So you can see even within the yellow pages, right? What is Google, social media? Again, even within yellow pages, there's way to stand out. That's a channel, right? How about these days, Carolina? How do people find roofing companies?
I think a lot of it is word of mouth, but also
Exactly.
going right to Google as well. I think of those
Exactly.
two. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Me personally, I go straight with a Google or I ask neighbors, right? But typically, most of the research these days start out with a Google search. So Google more or less kind of replaced the print yellow pages. And not that different again for home care. If the adult children, right, they're like, oh, okay, mom probably need a little help. The first thing they do is they pull up their phone, they go on Google, they started researching. They might type in home care near me, or let's say they're in Houston, they might type in Houston in home care, right? So more or less, that's why Google is still the right medium so far if you want to capture those who are at least mindful. So very different in social media. I'll definitely talk a little more about social media. That's where the confusion always happen is social media, which is Google versus Facebook. Which one should you tackle? So I just want to let you know if you're trying to attract those who are at least mindful, it's going to be Google, just like the phone book, not social media. Okay. Then eventually, again, I'll talk a little more how Google works because Google is very, very noisy these days. You got AI overview at the top, you got Google Ads, you got local search, you got organic. I'm going to go in detail which of these make sense for you. But eventually, everyone comes to your website. Even referral source, they Google your brand name, then they come to your website. When they're on your website, if we really think about it, they're really trying to evaluate. It's that evaluation stage. Who you are, what you do, how are you different? Like, why you? Like, seriously, why you? So that's what they're thinking. So we're going to go over a checklist shortly as to what you must have on your website to turn those visitors into phone calls and obviously increase assessment, right? So
Welton,
if we,
may I
yeah,
ask a
please,
question?
please,
So
please.
it's interesting that you highlight website, and the reason why is in other
Hmm.
industries,
Hmm.
some people assume that like the website is no longer something of value, but what you're saying in our industry, it still
Oh yeah,
definitely is.
still,
Okay.
definitely still very critical. And I'll lightly talk about AI as well, right? A lot of us are thinking, obviously, I'm using ChatGPT all the time these
Yeah.
days in lieu of Google search. Even AI, if you look at ChatGPT, for example, or Google's Gemini, they still heavily look at your website content, right?
Okay.
It's trying to replicate exactly what I am doing is okay, I'm looking for home care. It's going to go on multiple websites in your local area, trying to compare who you are, what you do, how you're different, then come up with the right recommendation.
Okay.
So thus, website is still king these days.
It's still king. And also, Walton, it would be illegal for you to not talk about AI these days. So
Exactly.
I know that it's going to come up here in
Right.
2025.
Exactly. So I'll definitely touch a little bit on AI as we go, but definitely AI does look heavily look at your website for content, right? It has to, right? It's not magic, it has to pull somewhere from somewhere to kind of right figure out which home care agency to recommend. Okay. Then ideally, if the website's set up very, very well, of course, that should turn into a phone call. But these days, I can bet you before they call you, especially typically it's the adult children, they're my age, right? Gen X, they're very savvy. I can bet you they're looking up your reviews before they invite you over to their home. So reviews are definitely one of those things you can never get right enough. You gotta get more. So we're gonna heavily talk a lot about reviews. How do you get more reviews? If you get a negative review, what do you do? Okay. So this is what I predominantly love to focus on first, whether you're year one, year five. This is probably the most critical journey is to you got to make sure you conquer this first because these are a little bit lower hanging fruit. They're really looking for you. Then once you exhausted these strategies on down, which you will at some certain point, because there's only so many people in a day that's going on search engine to look for your services. Then it makes sense then to go up here. These, I love them. These are great for getting your name out there. So let's go old school. Old school, right? That would be TV, radio, newspaper, billboards, right? If you really think about those strategies, do they work? Yes, they really help you push your messages out there before they need your services. So for example, there's always that one roofing company, you see them everywhere. On TV, still they do billboards, right? Magazines, you see them everywhere. So when you're looking for roofing services, roofing repair, once you're problem aware, you're like, okay, I heard of that company, and you call them. So that's why these strategies, even old school, still works. And that's where social media come into play. Social media is to really push your brand out there before they need your services. So we'll talk a lot more about social media. But what I see, most home care agencies that I've been talking to, they are like, okay, they heavily focus a lot more on social media when they should be focused a lot more on those that's already looking for them. Okay. So with this in mind, that's really go over a lot more in detail how search engine works. These days, when you go on Google, and you will see there's three distinct sections that you can market your business. Definitely there's that AI overview right at the top. AI overview so far only shows up for very informational based searches, not for truly locally based content. If you're looking for home care near me, that AI overview will not show up yet. I used the word yet. Okay. And the reason it hasn't shown up yet is Google loves your money. They are Carolina. They're are they a nonprofit or for profit organization? Google,
Therefore.
right? Definitely for
Yeah.
profit, right? Huge profit, and their about 9% of the revenue do come from Google Ads, which is their huge business. So that's why so far it's trying to work very hard to make sure the AI overview section does not disrupt its cash cow. So even this day, if you go on Google in your own area, you type in home care near me, the Google ads shows up first. Once you scroll down, then you hit my favorite section. My favorite section is this one here, which is what Google does is it recommends three of the best home care agency nearby, or three of the best roofing companies nearby. Unfortunately, Google only recommends three. That's it. So if you don't show up in here, let's say your fourth, fifth, sixth, you don't even show up here. So we're gonna heavily focus on today on this over here, which is free.
Okay.
Lastly is under section down here called organic search. And you might hear people call this SEO, search engine optimization, which is how highly ranked is your website. Okay. So that's really go heavily. I just want to talk about this paid strategy. This is the only strategy I'll be talking about that's paid. The rest I'll be talking about our free stuff.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, these Google Ads these days, most likely in your area, a lot of home care agencies are running these ads these days. Versus, let's say, pre-COVID, I didn't see many home care agencies running ads. These days, it's pretty mature. A lot of home care agencies are doing this already. So that's why, again, I keep on saying Google loves your money. That's why there's maximum four ads at the top, then it's in your face, right? So if you even you're ranked in the map section or organic section, your compares can always come in here and right show up right above you. Okay. What's even worse, of course, are going to be mobile. More than right 60% searches to happen on a mobile device. Thus, you can see again, ads just appear first. Again, so why then with these ad placement, there's two strategies I look at. If you're a very, very established agency, let's say you are um, doing 2,000 billable hours, what my recommendation is you're using these Google ads as a way to protect your market share. Because if you don't exist here, other newer home care agencies, they're siphoning your calls away from you. So the larger you are, I'm looking at this as a way just to protect your real estate, right? Even doing 2,000 billable hours, you still need to replenish, right, the ones that churned. But if you're smaller size agency, I would say if you're not 400 billable hours yet, I wouldn't do it, which is very strange thinking. The reason here is the cost to acquire a client through Google Ads is very, very expensive. It's about $825 to acquire one single client. That's a lot. That means if your ad spend is only 20 bucks a day, that's 600 bucks, you'll not see any clientele out of this. So it's definitely no longer cheap. Again, pre-COVID, it used to be very, very cheap to acquire a client. But as I keep on saying, is everyone's running these ads now. So it's pushing up the cost. Okay. So many of you tried to go ads, you're like, hey, it didn't work. It didn't work because you're underspending. That's reality. So that's why I'm like, the larger you are, it makes sense to protect your market share. But if you're underspending, I wouldn't do it. I would put your money somewhere else. There's better use of that money than running Google ads.
That's
Right?
interesting. So at the end of the day, if you're not spending as much as your competitor, you may be spending just at your
Mm-hmm.
maximum and you might be getting
Right.
absolutely zero results from it. So that's
Exactly.
a huge point
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Oh
other
yeah.
ways
Right.
to get success. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So a rule of thumb on these Google ads, I would say, um, if you can afford it, again, using that metric, the metric didn't just come from us, it's from Active Insights. They polled, right, a lot of home care agencies, on average 825 to acquire a client. So that's how I would use that as a benchmark to allocate towards Google ad. If you want one client on average or two clients on average every single month, that's where you would, right? That's how you set the budget. Okay. But I want to talk about my best, my favorite section, which is free.
Yeah.
So what, right? Yeah. And what Google does is Google is not calling each home care agency one at a time and interviewing them. I wish they do. Opposite, it's impossible for them to be interviewing all the business out there. So they heavily rely on different signals, different algorithm signals to guide Google search engine results as to which home care agency should show up in one of these three. And it's very apparent, again, this is not a secret to anybody. Obviously, Google has thousands of signals, but the primary three signal is actually very, very well known. First signal is going to be your Google business profile. And some people call this GBP. I just simply call it's your Google listing. That listing is very, very critical. That allows um, folks to leave you reviews. But these days, your Google listing is one of the most critical signal to get you ranked in one of these three results. So what Google is trying to do is these days, your Google business profile is trying to emulate your website. What I mean by that is, hey, you get to upload photos. You get to update the About Us section. You get adding your products and services onto your Google listing. Even though you claim your Google listing, if you don't put in who you are, what you do, what services you provide, Google doesn't know. Like it just doesn't know, right? So the more information you put on here, the better it is. The more likely Google trusts you and will pull you into one of those three spots. Okay. And the other trick to this one here is your business hours. It's a little bit tricky here. Um, again, Google's algorithm these days, if you don't set your hours to be 24/7, let's say it's after hours, let's say it's 7 p.m. When the adult children is doing their research and you're close, obviously you're 8 to 5, for example. Now Google is prioritizing those that is still opened and show them in a three pack, one of the three results. So I would still, again, it's not a hack, right? You're still answering your phone, most likely. I would still set your hours to be 24/7 because a lot of research do happen in the evenings. So that's algorithm number one is to make sure to update your Google business profile. Second, no brainer. The more reviews, the more likely Google will pull you in into one of the three listings. So you got to get more. Again, we'll talk a lot more about how to get more reviews, but keep in mind, reviews really do matter a lot as to who should be ranking here these days. The third algorithm is very, very strange algorithm here, and you might hear people call this citations or simply just directories. So this algorithm was developed way back in 2009 and 2010. Back then, I'll use the roofing company again as an example. That roofing company, they generally, just like you guys, they go out. They serve multiple cities nearby. So in order for them to be ranked in other cities, what they end up doing is they got fake addresses. They're like, okay, let me get a PO box here, let me get a mailbox, etc. box here, let me borrow a friend's address here. So that way they get ranked in that local search. And it worked back then. So Google's like, okay, we got to develop something a little more complicated to make sure they are really physically operating out of that location. So what Google ended up doing is, okay, it started cross-referencing major directories out there. If your real business operating out of that location, you should have, right, a Facebook page. You should have a Yelp page. You should have a Apple Maps, right, listing. So it's cross-referencing with other major directories. If you're showing up in there, the more Google trusts that you're physically operating out of that building, then more likely you'll be streamed into one of these three listings. Okay, very strange algorithm. That's why in the industry we call the citation, citing that indeed your real business. Versus you'll start to see a lot of home care agencies that actually get fake addresses as well because they're marketing agency. Hey, this is a way for it to get ranked. But don't go down that route. It will not help you at all. And Google's algorithm is much more complicated these days. Okay. Then while we're here, I want to touch on home addresses. Okay, many of you year one, year two, or year three still choose to operate out of your home, which totally makes sense. I would do the same, right? So what does home address, right? What's Google's terms and conditions on home addresses then? So first of all, of course, right, it's legal to be operating out of your home. And for you guys that's right, operating out of your home, what you do is called it service right, area business, where you can hide your address, which is totally legal to hide your address. And then you set a radius or you can put cities that you do serve in. That's totally legal. Okay. However, just reality, again, Google's algorithm is not perfect. Typically, it will rather favor those that's a little more established with a physical location. Okay. So again, I don't love this. It is Google's bulk cord. It just if you have a home address, unfortunately, it's very, very hard to get ranked in here, especially with that citations. If you choose to hide your address, which is fine, but it will not help you, unfortunately, with the citation part then. Okay, kind of sad, but just reality. Okay,
Hmm.
right. And then next is organic. Organic, as you continue to scroll down, finally you hit the organic section, right? That's free again. Organic is solely these days still based on content. Content is king. And these days, what I meant by content is king is you got to be updating more content on your website. Many on this call might be franchisees. That's totally fine, right? Corporate never said, hey, you cannot go in there and update the blogs, add more content that's relevant to your locality, right? So, or else franchise-based websites, right? You just got to make sure you're adding more content to it. And there's one type of content that's a little bit newer these days. Again, I'll touch it briefly once we talk a little more about the website. So what we do know these days, especially with AI loves those content that's a little more FAQ based. Right? Look at it's typically when you ask questions on AI, it typically comes up with short snippets, shorter, right? Shorter Q&A. So definitely is you got to have a Q&A section on FAQ section on your website. Okay. But really, realistically, SEO, it's a long-term, really, really long-term process. If you're on second page, there's no way suddenly you're going to be top first few spots. That's what's called organic. Slowly you move up, right, the ladder. So whoever is, that's why I always call this a longer term strategy is if you have, again, if you have money set aside, I would just buy your way in first. It'll be easier. And then once you're more established, it makes sense to do SEO. Okay, but many do start up doing SEO right away and wondering why it's not working because it takes time. Okay,
Hmm.
so that's why it's again to me it's a chicken and egg thing is yeah, it's I would rather buy way in, at least you're secure, you're getting calls, you're getting right. encourage you getting clients, then eventually you can come back and invest in SEO. Okay? But again, all these are means to drive traffic to your website. Again, Google is still king so far, right? Then we're driving traffic to your website. And let's talk about your website now. Um, your website, again, it's going to be the most critical piece of your overall marketing strategies. So I'll give you a few pointers here. First of all, whenever somebody comes to your website, you got to make sure the call to action is very, very clear. Subliminally, no matter where they go, doesn't matter which page they land on, you want to make sure you're guiding them what's next, right? What do you do next? So is it the call for assessment? Like it's if it's not that clear, they have no idea what to do. And ideally, on mobile, most searches do start with a mobile search. Make sure your phone number is locked right at the top. And ideally, kind of with a phone icon, they can just tap and call you. It's very, very frustrating to go on a mobile website. You cannot find the phone number. Now you got to open up the menu bar, go on
Yeah.
the contact us page, and then
You've
right,
lost the
it's
person
rich.
already. I
Exactly,
feel that. Yeah.
exactly, right. So definitely is, yeah. After this call, really open up your website right from the mobile device and see how hard it is to find your phone number. And it's very, very simply just reach out to web developer. Hey, can you lock the phone number at the top? Can you install like a phone icon? That way it's frozen. Right?
Welton, a question.
Yeah. Hmm.
With websites, and I know,
Yeah.
I see even when I get an inquiry at CareSmartz, I'll
Sure.
kind of check to see if there's a website. Usually there is. And sometimes you can tell that they've
Hmm.
used something like just an easy put together website versus a
Sure.
company that invests. Are there any
Sure.
differences in terms of how Google assesses that website, if it's something that they've kind of pieced together
Mm,
easily, or if they have someone custom
good
making
question. Yeah, good question. So let's talk about franchise-based website because they're more or less look the same, right? And then that's a something that's custom made or something that's a little bit more like Wix, right? Weebly websites, right? Those are getting more and more popular. They're easy to anybody can update those sites. Um, so this is pretty interesting. It really doesn't matter. What
it?
matters at the end of the day, from Google's point of view, is going to be content on the site, useful content. I think that's a better way to say this. You got to have useful content on your website. Plus, it looks at the engagement of your website. If the website um, is built very, very well, but people bounce off right away, then it will ding you for it. So I seen some Wix-based website where the owner built their own website on Wix fully outperforms something that's outrageous custom made, right?
Yeah.
So it really is adding its really usability, user experience, and content engagement.
Yeah, and a lot
Yeah.
of these websites that I do run into, the
Right.
content isn't up to date. So maybe
Yeah.
wait until you have at least up to date content, Walton.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Please.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So first of all is you got to make sure, again, the whole purpose of the website is to make your phone ring more or less. So make sure it's very easy for them to call you. Okay. Then by now your website are mobile friendly. Again, it's 2025. It's very unlikely your website's not mobile friendly. And how I assess whether a website's mobile friendly or not is seriously just go on your own website. Like we all like rarely go on our own website, but really go on your own website from your tiny little phone and really just start scrolling around, right? Swiping around. Hey, how hard it is to find things. Is it text? Readable. Again, I'm sorry, I'm the age I need readers, right? Or the text too small to even read it, right? That's you just got to really, right, look at your assess your own website from that tiny little screen. Okay. But what's more critical these days, you got to make sure your website is loading fast. And Google luckily provided a tool called Page Speed Insights. All you have to do is Google Page Speed Insights, and you just have to type in your URL, hit analyze. It will give you a report how fast is your website loading. And these big four circles over here, performance, accessibility, best practices, SEO, you want to make sure at least it's in that yellow to green zone. And if you don't know how to fix it, most likely even right, it's very simple. You just copy this link, send it to your web developer, and they will be able to fix this for you. Because down here below this, it gives a lot of things why the website's not loading fast. Which line of the code is slow to load, it will give you that assessment. Okay. Then let's talk about a few other very, very critical things on your website. I purposely use this as an example. If you really look at why are people shopping, like why are adult children shopping from what website to the next one to try to figure out which home care to call, it's really in the back of the mind, they have to do their due diligence to figure out why you. How are you different? I know if I call you today over the phone, you will let me know exactly how you are different than other home care agencies. So knowing that, you might as well on your website, ideally, right at the top, you already spell out how you are different. So this one you can see it's right away I know how they are different. 85,000 installations, right, 29 years. Again, right away, it doesn't mean I'm going to call right away, but at least I'm like, oh, wow, this is probably what, right, the larger insights or whatever it is you're trying to convey. Hey, at least let me call them first. So I don't have to shop around. Okay. So really, I highly advocate, I study a lot of websites. Most are outrageous weak in letting folks know how they are different. And this goes back into AI again, right? With AI, it's really trying to emulate exactly what you and I would be doing. If I go on a website, I cannot find out how they're different. AI is going to skip it and go to the next one. So these days, not only do you need to spell how you're different, which we'll talk about the About Us page, the About Us page is also same thing that AI heavily looks at. Who you are, what you do, how are you different, right? Again, it's oh, I always think about AI, it's trying to exactly emulate if I'm doing a research. It's just trying to do that for me, right? So in this About Us page, please guys, if somebody actually ends up going on the About Us page, they're pretty darn warm already. They already know like what services you provide, thus they're going on the About Us page. Now, when you're on there, your About Us page is like there's no uh no photos. Uh, faces means trust. I always go back to faces means trust. If you have no faces on your website, bunch of stock photos. I'm not saying don't use stock photo, it's fine, but you gotta have your own photos on there. Whether it's group photo, that's fine, but you gotta have faces. Right? We're in people business. It's not an e-commerce or anything. You gotta have faces on your website.
That's
Right?
such a good point, Welton, because when I
Yeah,
go on again just to check who's inquiring and who are
yeah,
they, it's so
yeah,
nice when I meet the
yeah.
owner of the agency and there's a picture of them. I mean, it just adds that layer of trust. So even if you can't
Huge.
use your client's photos, you can
Yeah.
still represent, who you are.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. Please, yeah, this really seriously, guys, this is probably one of the biggest thing I always audit are the faces on your website. If not, the trust factor is so low. Versus you've already got a website, right? Photos, they trust you a lot more.
Yeah, and you're using
Okay.
the same stock photos as the agency down the street, so it's
Exactly.
not going to make a
Exactly.
difference. We've
Right.
seen them.
Exactly. Right. Even franchisees, right? We work with quite a bit different franchisees. You still got to upload your own photos, right? Franchisor never say, hey, you cannot upload anything on, right? You got to add in more of your personality. Okay. Then I'm jumping around on then credibility. You got to have more credibility signals on your website, right? You can brag all you want, but you got to back it up. So these days, of course, the more reviews you have on these third-party review sites, the better it is, and you can stream those reviews onto your website. And most websites these days, whether it's franchise or built or right independently built, you can always stream in reviews onto your site already. Okay. But for those, again, if you don't have a lot of reviews yet, we go old school. Testimonials are fine. right? Get testimonials from your existing, right, clients with a photo. This to me looks very, very real, right? Outreach is real. So again, go old school is totally fine in the beginning, right? Then let's talk about videos. I really think these days, if you have a business profile video on your website, more they're gonna be engaging with you a lot more. So these business profile video are about a minute in length. That's it. They're short and sweet. And these days, if you have a video, they get to see you, right? They're like, oh, wow, you're so warm, right? And you're talking behind the scenes who you are, what you do, and again, how are you different? And these videos to get a pro to come out and shoot one for you these days, they're not that expensive anymore. You can go on a website called smartshoot.com, and it's kind of like a Craigslist for videographers. And you can post your job on there. You have a home care agency looking for a 1 minute business profile video. Everyone knows what a 1 minute business profile video is. There's a syntax to it, and they all come and bid on your job. And then you get to look at their star rating, their past um, right job shoots, portfolio, and you can choose one. And they'll come out, help with scripts, and help you with the video shoot. And they have come down a lot. Now it's averaging about $500 to $700 range. Again, still pricey, but it's not in the thousands mass per, right? It's no longer that. I really think if you have a video on your website that can leverage that video on social media as well, right? Now they get to know you a lot more before they call you. Okay, good. Next, continue on the journey, of course, is going to be reviews. Yeah, you just gotta have more reviews. So two reasons. First is if it's a referral, most likely they're just going to go on Google and Google your brand name because they're just thinking about, hey, let me go on your website, or hey, I need to look up your phone number. But when they Google you, hopefully they're seeing positive, right? Positive about you. And what does these days, when you Google your own brand name, obviously your Google reviews shows up always. And what Google also does these days, it will pull reviews from other major directories, such as Yelp, caring.com, care.com, right? All these different Facebook, it will stick out. So these days, that's why, again, Google is still the main one. And how do you know which other ones to focus on is I would just Google your own brand name and see what others show up on in your locality. Because each locality will be a little different. If you're on the West Coast, Yelp is a lot more dominant. Yelp always shows up right at the top. Okay. But the main thing here is let's talk about how to get more reviews. But before I do, let's talk about negative reviews. Here's a proper framework as to how to deal with negative reviews. Step zero, I always laugh about it. It's the most critical. It's you just gotta cool down. You gotta regret if you respond to them right away. So go grab drink of water and come back
This
after you're a
is
little
so
better state.
important. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah. Even me, right here and there, we might get a 1 star review. Again, I get very heated because we poured our right our heart out to help that family out. So please do cool down. Then all these portals, it's more or less the same. Whether it's Facebook, Yelp, Google, it's more or less the same. Step one is there's a reason why they left that 1 star, 2 star review. Is they want you, right, to reach back out to them. So obviously you want to reach out to them right away. And the whole strategy is take it from online to offline. Deal with it offline. And very often, what you'll find is if you reach out to them right away, very often it's miscommunication. There's always ways to repair the damage. And if you're able to repair the damage, make them happy, what they typically will do is they're going to either take down that 1 star, 2 star review, or they'll move it up to 5 star. That really does happen. Okay. So the whole thing here is you got to deal offline. And that's the ideal case. They took it down or moved it up 5 star. And we all know, what if you cannot make everyone happy? Or what if it's a fake review?
Hmm.
Then you will proceed to step two. That public response is outrageously critical. It's not to start a war. I think home care agency owners, right, rebuttal a little bit too much. Now the families can come back. Now you see a thread of back and forth on Google. Uh, that does not look good. So the whole strategy when you're leaving a public response is kind of take the high road a little bit more. Hey, this is what we did, right? This is what happened, right? To let folks know a little bit more about your side of the story. And this public response, again, is very critical. If you think about your own behavior these days, even let's say you are, again, using that roofing company as an example. Most of us, okay, they got a bunch of positive reviews, 5 star or 4.7 star, for example. You and I will actually read the 1 star, 2 star very, very carefully to see what happened. We don't read the positives a whole lot anymore. We scan the negatives a lot. If nobody from that roofing company leave a public response, we in the back of our mind, wow, this is real. What happened, right, was real. So even all those 1 star review you got in the past, I will really go back, still leave a public response to it. And that really does matter. Now folks know, wow, okay, you're on top of things. If something fell short, the owner's on top of it. They're gonna make sure, right, they're taking care of things, right? Then finally, step three is you get to flag it. All these portals, whether it's Google, Yelp, doesn't matter. There's a little red flag, you get to flag it. And there's a drop down once you hit the flag on what happened. And that's why that paper trail is outrageously critical. You privately messaging that person, leaving public response, you're collecting paper trail. So that way Google, Yelp, doesn't matter, Facebook, they know you really are working with this family to try to repair the damage, especially the fake review. They didn't respond to you at all, then more likely it's gonna take it down. Okay. Then let's give you some ideas on how to get more reviews. And this is where you just gotta be shamelessly, I always call this shamelessly, you just gotta be asking. Again, if you're not comfortable, you just got to get comfortable in asking. It's just reality, right? Unless you're a restaurant, naturally people know to leave reviews for restaurants. This is not going to be naturally gonna, without soliciting, without asking, they're naturally just gonna give you reviews. So this is what we have stats a little bit. Even you ask, only about 1 out of 10 will leave you a review. That's just realistically. How do you increase the odds? Two ways. First is you want when you I will always say ask in person or over the phone, and you want to hold them accountable. Either you email them a link to leave a review, or my preference is text them right away. Hey, thank you, right? Can I text you the link right now so you can just tap it and leave us a review? If you text them, there's much higher odds of that reviews being left right away. And that should go down to probably right 3 out of 10 will leave you a review. Okay. Other ways I've seen other home care agencies, they get creative. I love it. Is they know that they got to be asking. So they will be running contests internally where they will be incentivizing the caregiver. You cannot incentivize the families, but they're incentivizing the caregivers. Hey, whoever has the most reviews, right, are going to win whatever it is. So the caregivers now will be asking the family, hey, can you leave us a review? Make sure to mention my name. I get a little bit of right reward for this. And you will see how that's how they get a lot more reviews in other home care agencies to run these contests internally, right? Again, reviews do matter a lot. I can guarantee it's gonna make your phone ring more, especially choosing even a few dollars more, they're still gonna use you. Plus, again, going back to AI, going back to Google search engine results, the more reviews, the more trust, even digitally, they're gonna rank you. Okay. Then let's talk about the fun stuff, and I'll close it up with just two quick strategies here. So if those of you that's doing social media, again, I love social media as a great way to push your messages out there. I love it. But there's two strategies here with Facebook. These days, Facebook is no longer a free strategy. It's free to post, but it's not free to distribute anymore. Before COVID, let's say before COVID, when you would post a piece of content, you used to get a lot more likes, a lot more shares, a lot of comments. And you're wondering, even you post that same exact piece of content today, you were like, what happened? We got more followers than before. How come I'm getting very little engagement? It's not because that content is not good. It's still a great piece of content. It's not getting in front of the folks anymore. That's
Mhm.
why Facebook wants you to be boosting those content. And the boosting is always boosted incorrectly from my point of view. Knowing these days only 5% of your existing followers will see your content, when you boost, you want to boost to those who already like your page. That's probably the most critical because they're not even seeing content at all. You got to be nurturing them. So these days, when you post a piece of content, boost to those who already like your page, then now at least they're seeing your content on their feed again. Now they will be liking it, sharing it, leaving comments. Now their friends will start seeing the content, just like the good old days. And approximately, you don't need to spend a lot. $1, $1 reaches about 100 to 125 existing followers. So every time you post a piece of content, spend $7, $10, that will do wonders already. You don't need hundreds, thousands to be doing this. Just a few bucks will go a long way. Okay. And with Facebook, the other big strategy here is you get to upload a list. It's called custom audience. So that's say if you want to build up your referral network, right? Or making sure that your referral network, you're always in front of them. So this is where most folks don't even do this is you get to upload a list of referral sources. And what Facebook does, it will match, right? Will do the custom matching. So that way now whenever they're on Facebook, when you post a piece of content, now you can boost to that audience. So at least now, again, the content might be very different. B2C, B2B, it's very, very different type of content. So when that content is more geared towards your referred source, you'll boost it to this over here. Then they will be seeing your content. That's how you can nurture them. Okay. And lastly, with Facebook, you can also get to run Facebook ads. These are now going to be ads, right? For caregiver recruitment. And one big thing I'll close it off here is many of you do work with veterans. With Facebook, you actually get to run ads as well, only to veterans. For example, do you know your benefits? Right? Many of you are trying to get more those right VA clients is how you are able to really run ads just in front of them. Do you know your benefits? Most don't know. They don't even know they have right benefits with home care. Okay. So let me wrap it up here. Hopefully, again, two journeys over here. My preference is always, oddly, to go bottom up. This whole journey is actually bottom up. So, first of all, you got to really, really work with your team, role play with them on how to answer more and more of these so-called shopping calls. I can guarantee you with internet, you're going to get more and more shopping calls. And then you got to have strategies to get more positive reviews. You got to have a framework, run contests where to incentivize your team. Then you already got a website. It's free to update, right? So really you got to optimize your website for conversion. Faces means trust, right? Add a little more content, how who you are, what you do, how are you different. Then Finally, you need more traffic. That's when you come up here. But realistically, that local search, your Google business profile, you got to make sure it's up to date, put it 24/7, upload more photos on there, put in who you are, what you do, the services you provide. Then the ads, again, I would use it strategically because it's not cheap to acquire a client, right? I would be spending only when you're larger in size, and that's great to protect your market share and get a little more clients. And lastly, up here is going to be social media. I will still be posting, but I'll be boosting to existing um, followers and also upload a list of referral sources and just run, right, content boosted to them. Right. So those are my main strategies over here.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And I found that to be just simplified what is complicated, but Walton has done the research and we are all able to benefit. So, a question, Walton,
Yes.
when we look at all of these efforts, some of them more work heavy, others,
Mhm.
a financial investment. In your
Sure.
experience, do you see these efforts paying off for, even the smallest of agencies that you've worked with?
Good question. So I will always say probably the year ones, the year twos, a lot. I would personally, if I'm running a home care agency starting off, the only thing I would do digitally is to make sure your Google business profile is up to date. Obviously, websites given, really update your website and reviews, right? But majority of the effort will be offline, boots underground, right? Get a very good, spend some time, compile a very good list. Then you can use social media to get in front of them. But the ROI, with you can see this is a buying journey. So the ROI these days, very, very hard to track. The adult children might start researching. It might be 60 days, might be 90 days later before they come back again to your website and call you, right? So that's why I'm like, the referral, I love referral. Even my own business, I love referral, right? If I don't have to spend a dime to get a new client, right, I will be focusing most of my efforts on offline or just referral. But that's why the digital component is not the holy grail. It just takes a little longer to come to fruition. Even they click on an ad today doesn't mean they're gonna right call you today, right?
Correct.
But you look at a larger sized agency, they still do tap into these. Just it's overall it's multi-channel. You cannot just rely on one source. You gotta have multiple streams of of channels.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you also for reminding us that, that relationship based is still, we know Google is king in a way, but the king is really the experiences that your
Exactly.
clients have. And when we get referrals, even in our business, right, that is already a positive testimonial of them
Oh
referring
yeah.
to you. But
Oh
all
yeah.
of this is just tools to diversify that and layer in the ways that folks are finding you. Walton, were such an amazing guest today. You taught us a lot. We had quite a few attendees here on Zoom, on LinkedIn, and so we want to thank you and tell our guests one more time how they can find you if they're interested in your services.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, light pitch here. You can just go on Senior Care Marketing Max or follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm pretty, I post a lot of daily videos just to educate you guys.
Yes, and I know that you're on the road now, so we wish you safe travels, and we hope
Thank you.
everyone enjoys the rest of your afternoon. Yes, happy
Thank you all.
marketing, everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye.